In Joliet, Illinois, a man named Dean is driving while on the phone with his brother Sammy, who is back at their motel room. Sammy peers out at the motel curtains nervously, and tells his brother that there is a police car out front. Dean assures Sammy that there is nothing to worry about, as they already ditched the Impala's license plate and throws away all their fake credit cards. Sammy is still skeptical, as he is not sure that the life of a fugitive is what he had in mind, but shifts to their current goal and asks his brother if he found anything. Dean says no because it's not easy sifting through 50 miles of real estate, so Sammy wanders back to a large stack of books and tells Dean that he's figured out that they're hunting a djinn. Dean's wry grin echoes through his voice as he asks Sammy if he thinks the freaking genie can actually grant wishes. Trying to keep Dean focused, Sammy tells him that djinns usually flare up in ruins, the bigger the better. Dean remembers a likely place a few miles back, who decides to ignore Sammy's request to pick him up first, and goes to the place himself to investigate. Dean enters an abandoned warehouse carrying a flashlight and a knife when suddenly, he feels someone or something unseen behind him. But when he looks, there's nothing at his back, so he continues walking. Hidden in the shadows, the djinn gets a jump on Dean and slams him against the wall. As he struggles against the evil genie's grip, the djinn raises its free hand and releases an electric blue light bouncing and crackling along its palm into Dean's forehead. In Lawrence, Kansas, Dean wakes in the middle of the night confused with where he is. He looks beside him and gets shocked at the undressed dark-haired woman sleeping next to him. He stumbles out into a comfortable-looking living room and quickly dials Sammy's number. When Sammy answers, Dean tells his brother that he doesn't know where he is and the djinn attacked him. Sammy mistakes the djinn for the alcohol djinn and asks if Dean has been drinking. Frustrated, Dean reminds him of the hunt and says that it puts its hand on him and he wakes up next to some hot chick. Sammy asks him if he means Carmen, and Dean is appropriately baffled. He then tells Dean it's late and urges him to go back to sleep, and will see him in the morning. Now thoroughly confused and more than a little freaked out, Dean begins to recon the room and check a stack of mail on a nearby table. A moment later, Carmen emerges from the bedroom, sleepy and wondering why Dean is up. He makes up an excuse and promises to join her in a minute, and the woman gives him a kiss before going back to the bedroom. Dean begins to look around the living room at all the pictures of the two of them together, and gets shocked upon looking at another photo and drops it. He rushes outside and drives into their old childhood home, and quickly knocks on the door. He gets another surprise when his long-dead mother opens the door, so to make sure that she is his real mother, he asks her some questions that he only knows the answer to. When Mary answers them correctly, Dean emotionally embraces her and almost gleefully roams the room looking at the family pictures. He asks about his father John and learns that he died of a stroke earlier that year. Mary thinks that Dean has been drinking and says she'll call Carmen to get him, but Dean assures her that he's sober and tells her that he just wants to stay for the night. The next day, Dean heads to the University of Kansas and talks to an anthropology professor about genies. He asks if they can really grant wishes, but the man answers not really, as they are just mythological creatures. Though in stories, they have godlike powers and can alter reality to their whims, so it means that they can theoretically grant wishes if they are real. Not getting a clear answer that he wants, Dean goes back to his car and opens his car trunk. He didn't find his usual stack of weapons hidden inside. Instead, he finds bits and pieces of garbage. Across the street, he notices an out-of-place young girl in a white dress, and when he tries to walk towards her, a red car almost hit him and the girl is gone. Back at Mary's house, Dean is happily inhaling what he declares to be the best sandwich ever. Mary thanks Dean for the praise but wonders why his son is not working at the garage. He makes up some excuse that it is his day off and offers to mow Mary's lawn, enjoying domestic life for being a normal civilian. He even waves at the neighbor while mowing the lawn, and drinks a bottle of ice cold afterward. When Sammy and Jessica pull up, he rushes to give the woman a fierce hug as he is elated on seeing her well and alive. He is overjoyed to see the couple and quickly guesses that Sammy and Jess just flew from California, where his brother studies law at Stanford. Sammy speculates aloud that Dean's been drinking, which is hard to deny as he has a bottle in hand. Dean is puzzled at Sammy's apparent standoffishness and wonders why they are there. Sam asks with obvious exasperation born of several years of dealing with a wayward brother, if Dean has forgotten Mom's birthday again. Later, the family gathers to celebrate Mary's birthday in a fancy restaurant, while Carmen discreetly asks Dean if he wants a cheeseburger later, which proves that Carmen really knows the man. While eating, Sammy and Jessica announce their engagement, and everyone congratulates the couple. The joy is short-lived when Dean suddenly catches sight of the girl in a white dress that he'd seen on campus. He pushes past Sam and crosses the restaurant, but before he can get to her, she's vanished and his whole family is confusedly staring at him. Back at home, Mary leaves the younger ones for bed, and when Sammy starts heading to his room with Jessica, Dean protests that it is too early and they can go out to celebrate more. Sammy pulls Dean aside and asks what's wrong with him, which makes Dean confused about his relationship with his brother. Sammy reveals that they don't usually talk, because Dean not only once stole his ATM card, stole his girlfriend, and slept with her on prom night. Unaware of this life's mistake in the past, Dean apologizes to Sammy, but the younger man doesn't really want to have anything to do with his brother and tries to leave. Dean is heartbroken and offers him to go hunting, trying to mend the bridges between them. But Sammy refuses his offer as he has never gone hunting in his life, and urges his brother to just get some rest. Not liking the relationship he had with his brother in this life, Dean confides to Carmen that he is upset he and Sammy don't get along. The woman answers that it's because they just don't know each other at all. But Dean is determined not to waste his second chance with his family, and declares that he's going to fix things with Sammy. When he tries to get frisky with Carmen, the woman pulls away as she has to go to work soon at the hospital. While watching TV, a breaking news about the anniversary of the crash of United Britannia Flight 424 comes on the news, and Dean mutters that they stopped that crash in the past. This realization draws him to the computer where he discovers to his increasing horror, that everyone they had saved from evil, had all died from monsters that were previously hunting them. While still browsing the computer, he spots the girl in white dress out of the corner of his eye and jumps up to follow her into the bedroom. Inside the closet, he finds two decaying emaciated skeletons hanging by their wrists, and when he blinks, they're gone. Shaken by what he just witnessed and learned, Dean visits his father's grave and talks to him about losing everyone that they saved. He expresses his confusion about his new life, while the old one continues to follow him. He asks why he needs to be some kind of hero, whereas he also wants his family to live their lives peacefully. Wiping the tears from his face, Dean swallows, nods, and turns to walk out of the cemetery. John may not have been alive, but he directed his son all the same. Meanwhile, Sammy wakes in the middle of the night sensing an intruder inside the house. He grabs the bat and creeps down the stairs, and attacks the crouching figure bent over Mary's china cabinet. Turns out that the figure is Dean, who quickly disarms him. When Sammy turns the light on, he finds Mary's silver collection and accuses his brother of stealing. Dean makes up a story that he owes money to a bookie, and was going to pawn some of Mary's silver. He then apologizes to Sammy for everything that happened between them over the years, and takes a knife and slips it into his pocket. Before leaving, Dean asks his brother to tell Mary that he loves her, as if saying goodbye to his family. As Dean is about to drive away, Sammy neatly drops in the passenger seat and declares that he is coming with him. Dean tries to get him out of the car and reasons that it's dangerous where he's about to head. Sammy having none of it and insists that if it is dangerous, then the more reason for him to help as he is still his brother. Without any other choice, the man drives away with Sammy. On the road, Sammy demands an answer from Dean, who reluctantly explains about the evil genie. When the younger man digs out a plastic cup with a lamb's blood inside the car, he pales and pulls out his phone to call someone. Dean grabs the phone and tosses it out of the window, and tells his brother that he's not crazy and there are bad guys out there. But Sam doesn't believe him and his face is a canvas of doubt and not a little fear. When they reach their destination, the brothers enter the abandoned warehouse where Dean was attacked earlier. Trekking nearly the same path that man followed in his past reality, they find a pair of similar skeletons that he had seen in his closet hooked up in empty hospital blood bags. On the other side of the room, Dean sees the girl in white dress whom he'd been seeing all around town, who moans and asks in a weak voice for her father. But before they can able to help her, the evil genie appears and uses his electric blue light of wish granting, to make the girl fall asleep. He then drinks some from the bag that is attached to her jugular, but he senses the presence of the brothers. When the djinn leaves, the two slowly approach the girl while Sam continues his protest and insists on leaving the place. As Sammy starts to practically begs Dean to go home, the man comes to the realization that everything is a distraction from his true reality. In a dizzying flash in his mind, Dean sees himself hanging in that very room by his wrists, pale, dying, with his blood being slowly drained from him to provide sustenance for the evil djinn. The frantic Sam tries to distract him, who promises that everything will get back to normal after they leave the place. But Dean ignores Sammy's pleading and lifts his knife into his chest. He states that if you die in your dream it means you'll wake up in real, but before he can plunge the knife forward, Mary's voice stops him. Trembling, Dean looks slowly to the side and sees his mother walking toward him, looking like the Mary in his memory. He denies that she's real while Sammy asks why he has to keep digging. The apparition tries to convince Dean that it is everything he wants and that they can be a real family again. But Dean counters that he will die if he comes with them, as the djinn will drain the life out of him in just a few days. They try to argue that it will feel like years with his family and he will be happy. Listening to them and wanting to rest, wanting happiness, and time with his family, he almost gives in. But the man is adamant to go back to his old life, so he plunges the knife into his chest. In the real world, the real Sam arrives at the jinn's lair and sees his brother hanging by his wrist. He rushes to Dean and successfully rows him from his slumber, but the evil genie arrives before they can escape. The jinn tries to use his powers on Sammy, but the jinn suddenly arches his back in pain and shock. Turns out that Dean is able to stab him with his weapon to save his brother. When they check on the other victim, they find that the girl in white dress is still alive and whispers to them for help. Catching the girl in his trembling arms, Dean tells her that they are going to get her out and get her safe. Sometime later, Sam learns from the hospital that the girl they rescued from the warehouse is going to be okay. Dean smiles while looking through a magazine that features an ad with Carmen's face on it. Sam asks his brother if he's okay, and Dean recounts his experience under Jin's magic. He said he had their mom alive, but he and Sam had never gone hunting and never learned how to be brothers. He adds that even when he learns that it's not real, he wanted badly to stay, so he can be with his whole family. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. You can also hit the notification bell and like the video to help the channel out. Thank you.